Cooperative experiences represent so much of what I love about gaming. Communicating with one another, strategizing, commiserating, and celebrating. The heart of the experience is shared and thus all the more real. But games aren't just their interactive elements. We experience them through their narrative as well as through play. And when these narrative and gameplay elements are aligned in their direction, when they feed into one another, that harmony is hard to ignore. In his impassioned 2017 Game Awards speech, Joseph Fares says, "The gaming industry is an interactive industry. You can feel it in your heart." That harmony, when these elements align, is what Fares is talking about, feeling in your heart. It's something he has been honing in his games since 2013's Brothers, and comes really close to perfecting with It Takes Two. It Takes Two is a cooperative-only game in which players control Cody and May, whose marriage is at the end of its rope. Caught in the middle is their young daughter Rose, who, in hoping her parents can be friends again, inadvertently transfers Cody and May's spirits to small dolls, forcing them to discover how to be a team again in order to get back their bodies. You see, Cody and May have built a life together, and along the way have lost the passion and attraction, not simply for each other, but for the activities they used to love. For them, it's too late to fix, and neither believe it's any fault of their own. Obviously, they're not thinking with clarity here, and their selfish tendencies need to be addressed if there's any hope of salvaging their family, because what's at stake is more than just their relationship and themselves, which they so desperately try to focus on. In their shrunken state, the world around them shows that there are bigger, more important things. In It Takes Two, you cannot progress without your partner. You may need them to clear a way for you, protect you, or join hands with you in order to complete your objective. Often, they'll bring something to the table that you yourself can't, but together, nothing is insurmountable. It is this very principle that reverberates throughout all levels of the game. It is what players feel when controlling Cody and May, and it is what Cody and May discover as the narrative progresses. As a result, Cody and May truly feel like extensions of oneself. Every action, whether it's pulling down a large switch side by side or producing platforms for your partner to safely cross a gap, feeds into Cody, May, and Rose's story. Every accomplishment feels possible because my partner and I work together, much in the same way Cody and May need to in order to create a life for Rose that makes her feel loved. This is so prevalent throughout the game that, similar to Brothers, when it's taken away from you and you no longer share a screen with your partner, there's an undeniable longing for their presence. It's impressive the sheer amount of activities crammed into It Takes Two that are made cooperative. They range from tried-and-true platforming puzzles and combat, to stealthing around, and even more mundane things like skipping the credits. The grace and fluidity with which It Takes Two weaves between these activities, sometimes in the span of minutes, is commendable. Like what Cody and May seem to be missing in their life, it's exciting and adventurous. And on a purely ludic level, it's fun as hell. Dare I say, it reminds me of some of my favorite moments of Super Mario Odyssey and Nier Automata. Tonally, It Takes Two is a bit inconsistent, ranging from an uncomfortable dark comedy at times to a heartfelt Pixar-like film at others. The darker parts are reminders of Cody and May's inability to be selfless, like when they brutally dismantle Rose's anthropomorphized stuffed elephant in an attempt to get her to cry so that they can become human again. As they progress, their actions become less sociopathic, but for my taste, it was a bit much to get that point across. Littered throughout are competitive minigames like tug of war and shuffleboard. From a gameplay perspective, they're cute distractions, and even in a narrative consideration, it makes sense to have a healthy competitive spirit with your partner when playing games, especially ones that are so simple and irrelevant to the plot as a whole. But if you're not careful and get too caught up over who's winning or losing them, you may see your partner as the opposition during those times. I suppose this could be by design, but more likely it's my perception and how I've been accustomed to see competitive scenarios in gaming, as well as my unhealthy obsession with Rainbow Six Siege and Counter-Strike. While I would have preferred less distractions from the cooperative direction, I can appreciate how it reminds you that it's okay to have a bit of fun while you work on yourself and each other. Perhaps this game resonated with me more than it will with most. I was around the same age as Rose when my parents were at a crossroads similar to the one Cody and May are at. I played the game with my wife, and we're regularly reminded, through the good times and bad, that it takes two to make it work. Regardless, it's hard not to appreciate what Hazelight has accomplished here. Joseph Fares and his team understand that games are more than just the buttons you're pressing. And by incorporating that into the design at every level, it creates connections with your audience that they can feel in their hearts.